Right before I sang this morning, I'd just like to say, I'm not used to singing contemporary music at all. This will be the first time I've ever tried to stand and sing a contemporary song. I need God's help this morning. And this is a difficult song. The timing, to me, is very unusual to what I'm used to. I think about this song this morning. I think about the red letters. You know, growing up, I didn't grow up in church. My mother and dad had been saved. They were in church as youngsters and early young people. But they didn't go to church when I came along. They were busy trying to make ends meet, trying to make a living. But I remember we had an old family Bible. To my knowledge, it was the only Bible that we had in our house. It was one of those great big, I don't know the size of it, but you know, it had the places in the front where you recorded your marriages and your deaths and all that. And I remember as just a young boy, especially after I got in school, early on, I'd look through that Bible. There was some pictures in there, here and there, showed Jesus on the cross and some different scenes in that Bible. And before I was in school, I mainly looked at the pictures. But then after I got in school, and when I got a little past seeing Spot Run and Jack and Jill going up the hill and all that, I began to try to read that big old Bible. There were so many places in there I couldn't begin to say the words, couldn't pronounce them, still can't today. But there's one thing that I noticed about that old family Bible. All those words in there that were written in red. And I began to ask Mother and Daddy about those words. And they said, well, son, when Jesus came, left heaven and came to this earth, a lot of the words, some of the words that he said while he was here on earth are now recorded in that book in red letters. And that really meant something to me. And then later on, as I grew older and got out and got married, and thank God for Avon. There's an Avon lady that came to our house. I guess it was probably once a month, and I was married and had children. But this Avon lady, every month when she'd come to the house, and my wife and her would sit down at the kitchen table and they'd go through this little book. My wife would pick out a few things that I didn't really think we could afford, but my wife felt like she needed them, and it made her feel good, so it made me feel good, and it was okay. But this Avon lady kept inviting us to church and inviting us to church. But we didn't go. So then this Avon lady got to us by begging to let our little girl, Carolyn, go to Vacation Bible School with them. And we agreed, and her and her husband came by and got Carolyn, picked her up and carried her to Bible school. And after that, then they began to ask us to please let them come and pick her up and carry her to Sunday school and church. And we agreed to that. Then the first thing you know, my wife started going with her, carrying her to church. But I didn't go. Then I started feeling frustrated and aggravated because they had gone off to church and left me at home by myself. Finally, I began to go to church. And back then, a lot of the preachers preached on heaven and hell and the beauties and splendor of heaven and the heat of hell and the discomfort and the pain and so forth. Now this was 5 weeks from now will be 50 years ago when one Sunday morning I slid into an old-fashioned altar. And all I knew to say that morning was, please God save me, I don't want to die and go to hell. Preacher had preached on heaven. Didn't really do a whole lot to me. Holy Spirit had begun to nudge at this whole heart a little bit, but I was able to pass it off. But then one Sunday morning, the preacher stood and he began a comparison of the splendors and glory and beauty of heaven and that awful place called hell where there was going to be eternal punishment and torment. He talked about the fire. I knew a little bit about fire because I'd been burned on the stove. As a little young mischievous boy, I played with matches and I almost had some major catastrophes. Thank goodness it didn't happen. But I knew a little bit about fire. So that river got my attention and this old heart started pounding. This song, some of this song says, and the ground began to shake and the prison walls began to fall. Well, the ground didn't begin to shake that morning, but this heart of mine began to beat so hard. I don't know how it kept from exploding. And like I say, I slid into that old-fashioned altar that Sunday morning and asked God to please save me where I wouldn't have to go to the devil's hell. And that's all I really remember about that morning until I got up and I felt so clean, so light. It was so good. I didn't mean to take up all that time. There I was on this road, guilty in the first degree. Son of God hanging on a hill, hell was my destiny. The crowd was shouting, crucify. It could have come from these lips of mine. The dirty shame was killing me. It would take a miracle to wash me clean. Then I read the red letters and the ground began to shake. Prison walls started falling, and I became a free man that day. It felt like lightning hit my veins. My dead heart began to beat. The breath of God filled my lungs, and the Holy Ghost